Welcome to Class 3, Art in the Tomb, Part 2. So this is the second part of the chapter and topic that you started last week. I was working on this presentation and I found this image from when I taught this class this time last year. So this is my puppy. I got him the day before class. Just thought I'd share that with you, and that's one of my paintings behind me. And here are my kids with our puppy, Ambrose. He's now a year. That's my daughter Colette. She's in 7th grade. And this is my son Declan. He is a 5th grader. Look at those little puppy freckles. Okay, so I want to start with Emperor Qin. There are a couple other videos that you've watched about him as well, but just to recap, some of the cons about his destruction to China during his rule. He was known for destroying as much as he created. He burnt books and buried scholars, and he was a brutal warlord. However, his brutal armies did put an end to the warring states. He centralized the imperial rule, he standardized weights and measures, he standardized writing systems, and he linked smaller defense walls to create the Great Wall. And here is an example of representing the innovation of standardization. This is a weight. It is made of iron, and it was one of the largest weights, so one of the heaviest weights in the Qin system. So this weighs exactly 120 jin, or 1 shi, which translates literally to stone. And in order to prevent corruption, Qin officials could not use weights that deviated from the state-mandated norms, which was one way of ensuring that the people recognized the legitimacy of the Qin regime. And we're talking about tomb art, and it's pretty hard to talk about tomb art without talking in depth about the terracotta warriors. So I'm going to show you some images from when I was able to visit the mausoleum of the first Qin emperor. And to start out by giving you some context of where this is located, here is a map of China. You can see the Shaanxi province. And Xi'an is, outside of Xi'an is where the terracotta army is still today. It's about an hour's drive outside of downtown Xi'an. This is from a book that I bought at the gift shop there. I thought it was pretty cool. This is a Qin entry board. So this is issued by the reformed Qin state. This was a smooth, polished board. And it would be inscribed with information. This would be a visitor would be bringing this board to gain entry to the palace, to Qin's center of government. So it would either have a portrait of you on it or your origins or information like that, and everyone had to show their board for entry. This is a photograph I took on a very rainy day. So this is the tomb of Emperor Qin Shi Huang's, that as it is today. So you can see it's a hill. Underneath this hill, which has not been excavated, we have evidence that his tomb, that his final resting place, the tomb and the entire room that was constructed around it, is located here under this hill. This mausoleum was constructed over 38 years, from 246 to 208 BCE. The tomb is underneath a 250-foot tall mound shaped like a truncated pyramid. So the terracotta warriors were first uncovered or discovered by a farmer while he was digging. I believe it's the older gentleman in the image here. He's in his 90s now. But when he was 41 years old in 1974, he decided in the middle of a drought to dig a well with his 5 brothers to water their crops. They chose a small wooded area south of their village. 5 days later, the well reached 50 feet, and they found a terracotta head and a bronze arrowhead. He immediately, upon the discovery, informed the authorities. They dispatched a team of archaeologists to the site, and the government offered him 300 yuan as a reward, which was equivalent to his annual salary. So they definitely paid him for his loyalty and for sharing this discovery. He was evicted from his property, but granted land in a neighboring village. And when the site became accessible to the public, he was hired by the museum. For many years before retirement, he signed books in a souvenir shop 6 days a week. So, in order to create Qin's tomb, so again, these are images that represent the way we think Emperor Qin's tomb under the hill look like. So, it has not been uncovered. It's not going to be uncovered until the Chinese government agrees to. And they're not going to agree to unless they're positive that archaeology and the means to protect everything they find there have reached such a level that they're not worried about anything being destroyed. This is probably one of the most exciting, most interesting, archaeological sites in the world. So nobody wants to touch it until they know that they can fully maintain and care for the items they find there. So we're told, or we believe from records and from some ground testing, that subterranean streams pour and molten copper was poured for the outer coffin. You can kind of see the outer coffin there. The tomb itself was filled with models of palaces, pavilions, fine vessels, and precious stones. And any thief who would come anywhere near the tomb while they were building it, while the workers were building it, would be shot by a crossbow. The Yellow River and the Yangtze River are reproduced in quicksilver or mercury and made to flow mechanically into a replica ocean. So this is all again in that tomb on the previous slide that I showed you. Heavenly constellations are represented above and regions of the earth below. And candles were made of whale oil to ensure the longest running time possible. So here you can see the farmlands that are all around this is an older image, but you can see the farmlands that were around the mound where the tomb is underneath. Again, it took 37 years and 700,000 laborers to build. The innovation of the layout and the architecture was heavily influenced on tombs built later, or it heavily influenced tombs that were built later. And at present, 149 burial pits, 196 burial tombs, including the Bronze Chariots Pit, Rare Birds and Beasts Pit, the Barns Pit, the Stone Armor Pit, the Warriors and Horses Pit, and other sacrificial pits have been uncovered. So this was declared an official historical site on March 4th, 1961. The State Council declared Emperor Qin's mausoleum a major cultural and historical site. So China is very aware of how special and important this is to the history of our whole world, really. This was one of the first sites to receive this huge honor and designation. And UNESCO, which is the United Nations World Heritage Site Organization, they listed this as this World Heritage Site on December 7th, 1987. The Warriors and Horses burial pits were some of the early discoveries of the tomb. They're labeled Pit 1, Pit 2, and Pit 3 in order of discovery. They contain 8,000 life-sized terracotta figures and horses, also 140 chariots and 560 chariot horses. This discovery has deepened our understanding of the development of troops, weapons, and societies from the Warring States period and the Qin dynasty itself. So pit 1, which was the first pit discovered by the local farmer while he was drilling for water. This excavated pit was found to hold 6,000 figures and a great amount of bronze weaponry. And you can see in this illustration here that it is the size of 2 football fields. So it's huge. Pit 2 was discovered in 1976. There are 1,300 terracotta warriors and horses located here. And Pit 3 was discovered in May 1976, so a month later. It is in the shape of the Chinese character for U. The smaller scale pit contains 72 terracotta warriors and horses. Some scholars believe it served as the headquarters for the army, directing the warriors in pits 1 and 2. It may have also been a military shrine for sacrifice before the army went on an exhibition. Remember, sacrifices were really important.